Great. So we're at our second iteration of Over Brew here at Gower. We have a new colleague here with us. Leanne's already introduced herself. We don't need to know who she is anymore. Neilson, would you mind introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, and we can then take the conversation.
Okay, so my name's Neilson Cole, manager of teaching and learning at Pembrokeshire College, and I'm delighted to join you today.
Thank you. Thank you. In this chat, we're going to focus a bit on AI, and Leanne's led a panel discussion with ourselves and Nicola Brandon as well on using AI, looking through the lens of sustainability. I don't know if you wouldn't mind maybe doing a summary of what we've discussed, and then we can take the conversation onwards.
Yeah, so the ethos of today's conference is sustainability, but it's all the pillars of sustainability. So we focus on financial sustainability, economic sustainability, obviously sustainability as we understand it in terms of green and kind of ethical responsibility, but also for us as teachers, it's pedagogical responsibility, making sure it's right for our learners and making sure we're picking the right tool for the right job and making sure it's adding value. I think that's what came out of all of the conversations as the underpinning thread for me on all of those sustainability fronts was it's got to add value. It doesn't replace, it doesn't do it for you. And we shouldn't pick it unless it is doing something that really gives us this, and I mean this, added value for our staff or for our learners. And that's what I think came out of it. And we discussed usage and policy and approaches and everything else. But I think that's what came out for me.
I absolutely agree. When we're talking about value and when we're working with our staff, if you can't show that value, if you can't show where the benefits are, I think it's always going to be a very difficult sell. But when you're looking at certainly a market now with AI platforms that is flooded.
Yes.
There's an AI tool for everything at the moment. And we know that it's only a matter of time before a lot of those platforms slip away and the stronger ones come to the top. And it's about making sure that we are at the forefront of that and making sure that we are testing those platforms. And then from a professional point of view, suggesting those for our practitioners for the most impact within the classroom.
I love that. We've all been chatting for a while, and all the narrative that's been coming from new tech companies, like you said, platforms that have AI sprinkled throughout. Mm-hmm. It's all about the promise and the premise of AI helping throughout education. So I get that, and I get its potential, but like you said, a bit of sobriety, a bit of understanding of where that goes and what's the return of investment, where's the value added, is what we need to focus on. So my question to you both is, where do we see its effects on our learners currently? And then we can chat about where we think it's going or where we would like it to go, whether it's going to go there or not. But for you, how do you see it affecting learning and learners at the moment?
It's a huge question, and we are, despite AI being around or generative AI being around a long time, we're still very early in that journey. Now, if we're looking at the impact on learners specifically, I think potentially we've got the opportunity to build ownership and learner ownership, that ability for learners to take their learning in the direction that they want it. I think traditional, curriculum models where, a lot of it is based on recall, a lot of it is based on a curriculum that, as a legacy, the question is it still fit for purpose as we're in this current model? And I think AI offers that opportunity, or generative AI, and potentially with those platforms offers that opportunity to take it. Personalised learning, I think, is the phrase certainly being coined.
Yeah, it's my hobby horse with you, as you know. And it is about personalised learning. It's accessible learning. It's I would say it's about letting hopefully people can look back at other things we've done. It's about giving people chance and opportunity to access and chance and opportunity to stretch and talent. But it's also about giving people agency. We're all saying that students now don't have the skills of creativity, critical thinking, etc. And AI is going to replace it. No, actually, it's the gift. It's the gift that's going to bring and re-energize our curriculum to put those skills back. because we can use this as an opportunity to go and flip learning and challenge validity and challenge bias, and we can use it as an opportunity to challenge the things and develop the skill that's being lost just through rote, just through recall, just from, and he's laughing because it's my real bugbear. And rethink how we do things. And
when we talk about assessment.
Right, we can talk about that. Right? But allows our staff to reimagine their teaching.
Yes.
That's what it does.
I'm just going to pick on this just so we can go down this road, because you both mentioned going beyond recall. And obviously it's because, like you said, traditional teaching and learning is based around that. Where do we see AI helping this quest on going beyond recall? What do we mean to go beyond recall? What does that mean for you? Because I know it will be different stuff for different people, hence personalization. But what does it mean for you? How do we take AI to aid learning to go beyond recall?
Well, it's the application of knowledge, isn't it? And it's being able to apply it in different scenarios, or transferable skills, potentially. That's how it might be coined. But when you've got, I guess, technology such as generative AI, you have knowledge has become a commodity.
Yes.
It's become something that is highly accessible. I always make a comparison to my dad buying a TomTom many years ago, paying £300 for this sat nav that guided you to where you needed to go. And suddenly now, all of us in our pockets, we've all got that sat nav, and it doesn't cost anything because it's become a commodity. And I think it's exactly the same with a lot of knowledge. The knowledge is there now, but it's about how you use that knowledge and how you apply that knowledge.
Correct.
I agree. And the funniest thing is, everyone's like, years giving us knowledge. We've given our students textbooks and Google since 1989. We've given them Google, not Google, but the internet. It's not new that we've given them this knowledge. It's just that all AI does is give them agency to draw it down in a different way. But it's that skill about challenging bias and criticality. But I think it gives us an opportunity to give an appetite back for learning. I know that sounds really controversial, but it really does. I think it makes us go, like I said, flip our curriculum, but I think we can't do it unless we empower our educators, unless we give confidence to our educators, and that we have consistency in what we do, because I think we have to say to people, this is how it can help, and this is how it can support, and this is how it can develop. It's not going to go away. It's integrated in everything. And Neilson brought up that there is a plethora. I think we've talked before about like that saturation and like AI fatigue, almost tool fatigue. That is out there. So what we have to do is to think about, what do we want AI to help us do? We want to help learners access and learn and apply and critically reflect. The World Economic Forum has identified the skills that we need in 2030 that don't exist right now already. We're not teaching. They don't exist. They really don't. We've got to get them there. We're
teaching for a market that's not there.
We're teaching for markets not there. We're teaching for learners that are studying now for a job that don't know what it's going to be yet. We have to develop the skill that AI will allow us to do. We've got to have skills based, not knowledge based.
Go for it.
So no, I was just going to say that when you look at some of the way that generative AI is being promoted as a time-saving tool, and yes, it will save time, but from an education perspective, we're looking at something that is making practitioners particularly productive. And as you mentioned, when you are productive, suddenly then that becomes a passion, because it's something that you can see, you reimagine the way that you deliver. So suddenly a curriculum that has been quite static for many years has different possibilities, different ways of delivering. And I think as a pathway, generative AI does offer that.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to poke now. I'm going to poke both of you because we're going to finish with this question, because it's, like you said, it's a huge question, big topic. So for you, in the next 12 months, 18 months, do you have plans of putting some of that into action? And if so, what are you going to use for it? What are you going to do? I can share what our plans are as well, but just in case, just so people kind of get an idea of how are we going to flesh some of it, or start fleshing that.
I think with many or a lot of technology, the impact of that technology can be influenced by how effective it comes from the practitioner. And I think we have to continue to upskill and develop the confidence in practitioners to engage with technology such as generative AI. And I think moving forward, it's about having that confidence to experiment, that confidence to reimagine ways that you've previously delivered.
Yes.
And not saying necessarily that, right, okay, well, this has worked previously. It's not working as well now. Reimagining it, right, okay, how can we deliver it in a different way? So coming back to your question about over the next kind of 12 months, it's looking specifically at, obviously, strong prompting. We know that AI is only as good as its user.
Yep.
And getting people to understand that if it doesn't give you a response that you want, tell it, speak to it. Say how disappointed you're in AI that it hasn't done what you expected, rather than accepting that as, no, it's not quite doing what I want.
Yes.
Tell it, and interacting with it in that way, in a nice way, just in case they take over.
Make friends.
Make friends.
I agree with Neilson, but I also think for me, it's about transparency. Okay. And never one to say a policy is a solution, but for me, the policy is a backstop, right? We need to give staff the confidence that it's okay to use it, because that's what we have to remove. There's a barrier to being honest. It's like scent, like it's almost as if it's from a speakeasy that you're knocking on the door and going, can I use it, right? We have to remove that to allow people to feel okay about using it. So we've got a policy that's a really proactive policy. We've got a policy that's going to be saying, we are going to show you in our teaching and learning conference, we can use it. This is how we can, this is the tools, this is the examples that we use. These are the things we want you to run with. So controlling the noise around it and say, these tools work. This is the impact. This is what's been tried and tested. And my amazing team of digital peer mentors are going to be those advocates, and we'll do that. Because I think we need to do it in a measured way. It's going back to what Neilson said, but giving people the confidence it's okay to use it. And being honest with our learners about how we're going to use it, right? Honest with parents, how we're going to use it. Because we're being honest, it's not hidden. People are willing to try. If people are willing to try, they're more willing to ask questions. They're more willing to learn from failure. They're more willing to go ahead and go, actually, Leanne, can I come and find out about that a little bit?
Yes.
And if people are trying the same tool in multiple curriculum disciplines and discipline areas, what you end up getting is that usual thing and I think we should just think about it like every change we've ever put in, right? Just because it's got a digital change, it's that we just keep going, because eventually it's got to catch on. And it will come from confidence from going and seeing, they've done it in public services. They're doing it in catering. We could do it here. And that's what I think. We have to be honest to give people confidence to do it, and then control the amount of noise, and then share what we're doing, because that's how we bring people forward. We don't necessarily in companies coming together, look at how amazing, I love when you talk about protein, look at how amazing this protein-filled AI tool is going to be for you. It's about, this is what works for us. Give it a go, because this is what it results in.
100%. Negotiating with everyone what we want to do with it, and feeling empowered to do it. I think it's really important.
So
like
what
you said,
are you doing?
For us, we're focusing on doing more stuff around prompting, because again, we want to focus our efforts when it comes to talking to the AI so we get best results. But for me, the discussion, really bringing it beyond recall, is talking with staff to find different ways in which we could use AI in and outside of the classroom. And for that, there are a few problems there. You need grounded knowledge, which is why we're going to try and focus on an agentic type of AI to do this, where we can try and give it some information and certain behaviors. Fingers crossed, it's going to work. But that's the goal, right? It could flatly fail. I'm open to that. But I don't want to decide for staff where they should use it. And I think they need to have that empowerment and that ownership around, I'm going to try and use it here initially. and then grow with it in terms of confidence. But the AI tool needs to be able to give back that type of interaction that goes beyond recall to say, oh, I need to catch up on whatever. I'm looking at biology and cell reproduction, and you get the answer. I want to find different reflective ways that I can tell the AI to talk back to the user. And I don't know what those are yet, which is why I was asking you what those are for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think there's a project yet.
It's definitely a conversation that needs to keep going, I think.
I think a lot of people will use AI to find out and answer. And like what you're mentioning there, you want to move away from that and go deeper.
Yes.
Now, whether it's an approach where we treat generative AI as a coach, whether we treat it as something that can teach and develop and apply in different areas, I think that's where there's possibility.
I also think from an education perspective, like institutions, we have to think about the way to support the learner isn't always just in their classroom. Wide support services. So we need to use those wires too,
throughout,
like learning resources and supports and
100%
mechanisms there. Because I think when you can see its wider use, that's when you get cohesion and efficiency of things. And I think that's what's quite important as well.
I love that. I think we're going to stop this conversation here just because we're going to go over time. But thank you so much for that. And I think we need to keep the conversation going. And like you said, there's probably a project in that around, especially around agentic AI, and maybe looking at those behaviors that we want to encourage the AI to bring back to learners and to staff, I would dare say.
Yeah.
To that. So thank you both very much. I'm going to play this conversation later.
Super.
So.